would have been 8.5.
Yeah, I'm driving. Frustrating.
Everyone, we'll be starting momentarily, so I could ask you to take your seats.
She said she had never seen her, so I
I'd like to thank you all for coming to this afternoon session. We're really pleased to see that marketing as a topic attracts so much interest. We're especially pleased to have our speaker with us today. He has a very busy schedule. We're very lucky to get him to do this seminar this afternoon, and he's also going to be our keynote speaker tomorrow. I've worked 40 years in IT with computers, and I retired 7 years ago. And in that time, I've become an absolute dinosaur. I have no idea what this new web technology stuff is. I don't really know what Twitter's all about, or why I should like things, or tweet things, or any of that. But these days, when we think about marketing, those new technologies offer us a huge opportunity for being able to market in ways that we didn't before, at much less expense than would have been involved before. Producing a video and putting it on television is just totally out of our ballpark. But we now have the ability with some of these new technologies to be able to do things that are within our means and still have a lot of outreach. But we need to get past the dinosaur feeling that I have, and that many of you, I'm sure, also suffer from. So we're hoping that Patrick, or I know that Patrick is going to be able to help us with that. Now, Patrick, when you look at his name written down, it's a little intimidating. So I asked him, how do you pronounce your name? And he said, Patrick. So we have with us Patrick, sort of like Madonna, or Lulu, or one of those, Prince. But I'm going to take a shot at it. Our speaker, and I'll let him introduce himself rather than get a lot of facts wrong from up here. Our speaker this afternoon, we're really happy to have him, is Patrick Schwarzenegger. Perfect. Got it? Yeah. I practiced that all night. Take it away, Patrick. Thank you.
I'm going to do this from down here, if that's cool. The thing up there just seems unnecessary. I love how like 2/3 of the group is on this side of the room, and this side of the room is empty. But that's okay. That's always the way it goes. So look, how many? I mean, I thought he did a nice introduction, not about me, but about the topic. If we're really kind of honest with ourselves, how many of you do feel like this stuff is a little bit out of your comfort zone, or you're not really that familiar with it? Okay, so take a look around. A lot of folks, right? And by the way, that's not unusual. If any of you are curious, I'm 43 years old, so I got my first cell phone when I was 27. I wrote my first email when I was 24, which was after I graduated from university. I grew up in Canada. Any Canadians here?
Yay!
Nice, love it. Vancouver. But I went to college, I went to university in Ottawa, I lived in Toronto and Calgary, so I kind of went all around. Anyway, the point is that I didn't grow up with this stuff either, okay? But I've learned it. And there's an opportunity to do this stuff. And I just kind of want to encourage you to kind of let's have an open mind. I know this stuff is a little bit uncomfortable, okay? But just give me a shot at this. And we'll see if we can work our way through it a little bit, okay? All right. Let's start with the bad news. So I looked at, when I was asked, most of the stuff, my biggest client's Bloomberg, so I do a lot of Bloomberg stuff, a lot of Comcast stuff, so I'm always in front of business audiences. So when I got called to speak in front of the Square Dance Callers Association, I didn't even know this existed. Truthfully, and I'll say as well, by the way.
That's a problem.
That is a problem. And the next slide will tell you how big of a problem it is. But my biggest hobby as an individual is salsa dancing. I do a lot of salsa dancing myself. I go like twice a week, and I take private lessons as well. So that's a big part of my life. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later because I think there's some parallels. But when I was asked to speak at this Square Dance Callers, I was like, man, this is unbelievable. There's like going to be 200 people who've called Square Dance. I couldn't believe it. So I wanted to do some research. So I looked on Google Trends to see what the search volume is for Square dancing. Now this is, guys, seriously, take a look at this. This is the last 10 years, okay? Now if you can see up here, I search for square dance and square dancing. Okay, see that? Square dance and square dancing. And it is just, this is the last 10 years, okay? 60% down. The search volume for these words are just in a precipitous drop. You see this? Yeah, this is incredible. So we got some work to do. We got some work to do. But the good news is, and this is you have to appreciate how unusual this opportunity is. We've got the whole industry right here. Seriously, I'm not kidding, guys. It's the whole group. I mean, tomorrow we're going to have, apparently up to 300 folks, at my morning session. Guys, you can turn this around. I'm not kidding. That's not just me being like blowing sunshine. We got the whole group. If all of you actually did some of the stuff we're going to talk about over the next 2 hours and again a little bit tomorrow morning, if you actually did that, if you actually went outside your comfort zone and said, I'm going to do this thing or that thing. You don't have to do it all. Pick something that you're comfortable with. You're like, you know what, I can do that. If you all did that, across the country and some in Canada, there's some people here from Germany and so on, I think here's from Japan. If you all did that, we could make a real impact on this. Okay? So let's dig a little deeper. Actually, hang on. Take a guess. Which state, Google calculates, by the way, this is free information, I'll tell you where to get it. Google calculates what percentage of the population searches for these terms in a state by state, to give you a regional idea. So what state is the highest traffic searching for square dance and square dancing?
California.
It's not California.
Texas.
Say it? Wyoming, no.
Arizona.
No.
Texas.
No.
Texas.
Again, this is not the size of the state because they do it per capita. Not North Carolina. All right, check it out. Number 1, Idaho. Idaho. Look at this. Number 2, Massachusetts. Who would have thought? Washington State is number 3. See that? Oregon. You can't read this in the back. I'm just going to read them out. Oregon, Oklahoma, Montana, and New Hampshire at the top, whatever that is. 6, 7. Pretty interesting. Now, what are the terms that are searched for the most? Let's take a look at those. Again, if you can't read it, it's the top ones. I'm just going to read it out. Square dance lyrics, square dancing, square dance Eminem. That doesn't apply, right? That's not for us. Okay? Square dance music, that's fine. Square dance caller, that's all of you folks. Dance Times Square, that's not relevant, right?
Yeah,
dance
club.
It might be.
It might be.
There is a club in New York called Times Square.
Well, then it might be that. But you guys see, you can start to see, right there, guys, transparency is here today. Now, the inverse of that same statement is, are you ready for it? Privacy is dead. Privacy is dead. Right? I'm not saying it's good or bad, but let's just put that one on the shelf. Privacy is dead. Okay? But the good side is transparency is here. You can see what everyone's searching for. You can see it all. It's all publicly available. Okay, now what about the rising? See there at the top, we got 2 categories, top and rising. See over here? The top terms and the rising. So you can click on rising. Here's the ones that are rising. Square dance lessons. That's good news.
Yeah.
People are searching for square dance lessons. Square dance song. Union Square dance. I don't know if that's might be in San Francisco, Union Square. I don't know. Square dance caller. Again, Dance Times Square. Square dance clubs. That's good news. People are searching for clubs and square dance lyrics. Okay. So this is all available on Google Trends. Okay. I don't know if you guys are going to write any of this stuff down. You don't have to. I'm going to give all these slides to the organizers. So I imagine one way or another they're going to find their way to you guys, so you guys can get this later. Okay. But pretty interesting stuff. Now, there's one more little piece of bad news. I looked for, in the Google keyword tool, which is also freely available, okay? And I just searched for the word dance, and it would give me all the related terms to see what people are dancing and what people are searching for. Pole dancing and pole dancing classes. So that's what we got. Welcome to 2014. Pole dancing. All right. But okay, do you guys see already now? Right? We've only been doing this for 4 minutes. We can figure this stuff out. Okay, we can reverse engineer this. We can figure out what people are searching for, and we can put content. Right? That's essentially Google Keyword Planner. Essentially, people today, even if you personally don't, okay, the vast majority of people today, when they're looking for something, they go to Google. Right? They go to Google, and it started at the youngest ages, and it goes through all the different generations. Right? So now the older folks are using it too, okay? And they're searching for things like square dancing in Reno. Okay? So we have to have content out there for them to find, right? The precipitous drop, 60% down, right? Here's the simplicity of this is deceptive, okay? Nobody's talking about it because nobody's talking about it. That's it. That's it, guys. There's nothing else to it. Nobody's talking about it. You guys, I know there's exceptions. Okay. By the way, guys is a pronoun. In my world, refers to men and women. Okay. Yes. I don't mean to be a guy. I say it happens too quick for my mind to even realize. So I don't want to offend anybody. Okay. Guys is men and women. It's exactly the same. Some of you are doing stuff online. I know some of you are, and I've got proof. I'm going to show it to you in 2 seconds. But most of you are not. Okay? If you were, more people start talking about it. There's a direct correlation between the amount of activity, people talking about a subject, to the amount of content that's on the web about that subject. Right? We don't have to control what other people do. All we have to do is control what we do, and just put more content out there. And there's tons of opportunities. I got some neat ideas, and there's some stuff that's already out there. So that's where I'm going. That's where we're hopefully going to end up. Is all of you hopefully are going to have some ideas. We're like, we can do this, we can do that. Maybe we can do these 2 or 3 things, and it can change the whole thing. Let me say one other thing. What's the target market for this? Right? Well, there's people who have already had children, and they're grown up now, and so now they can go back to dancing. And there's people who haven't had children yet. Okay? In the middle, it's really hard. When they've got kids, it's tricky. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's tricky. Okay? So of these 2, probably the one we want the most are these young folks. That's chapter 2. Let's start with chapter 1. Okay? This is the lowest hanging fruit. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I'll get to that in a second. But let's start with the people whose ages start with a 5, 6, or a 7. Okay? And there's tons of them that we can get. Okay? And the way this works, by the way, is you can target any target market you want. You might get the majority in that genre, okay? But you're going to get a few outliers, including a few young people. And then if you start catering to those people, you can expand that lower part later. Okay? But just let's start with the people who are 50s, 60s, and 70s. We do that. It's going to be easier, and we can make a dent quicker. We have to get content out there. Right? That's what this is going to be all about. What can we create in terms of content to get it in front of those eyeballs? And there's stuff that we can do. All right. So when I first started, and this is just to give you an example, I did a podcast in 2006. Anyone, just be honest when it comes to these questions, anyone not familiar with podcasting? Okay, cool. So a podcast is when there's different variations, but for say 90% of people who podcast, they record with a microphone their voice talking about some subject, and then they put that audio recording on the internet, and other people can download it. So I could be doing an interview with somebody, right? Or I could just do content myself, or whatever. It might even be a recording of some musician playing, okay? And then they put that online, and they put it generally on a lot of places, but on iTunes, right? iTunes is the Apple music store, right, where you can download songs for 99 cents. Well, you can also download podcasts, and they're generally free. Okay? So I didn't make any money doing this. I posted this podcast on the iTunes music store. It was 2006. But what was the podcast about? It was about mortgages. I never imagined that there would be people searching on iTunes for mortgage stuff. I mean, this is back in 2006. I did it just for fun. I never told it. I didn't even tell anyone I was doing it. And I remember I recorded an introduction, and I saved it as a file. I put it up on the iTunes Music Store. That was the introduction. And then a week later, I did my chapter 1. I recorded it, and I went to upload it, and 17 people had downloaded my introduction in the last 6 days. And I was like, who are these people? I never told anyone. Turns out, there's people searching for mortgages on iTunes. I had no idea. And after a little while, different bloggers and different things, they started talking about my recordings. I did an introduction, 15 chapters, and a conclusion. And eventually, and this is nothing in today's internet world, but in 2006, I had like the 3rd most popular finance-related podcast on iTunes. That's how this whole thing started for me. It was crazy. I was like, this is insane. People are searching for stuff. Some of them are searching for square dancing. Some of them are searching for dancing, and they don't know square dancing exists. But if you have your thing called something square dancing, and they search for dancing, and it comes up, and they're like, wow, square dancing, I never thought of that. Like, they're thinking about something else, right? So this kind of stuff, by the way, I have some of my books. Whether you want to go in is entirely your choice, and there's no sales pitch. Let me just at least explain what this is. It's basically an instruction manual. There's 80 chapters about everything we're talking about is basically in there, and the chapters are super short. They're like 2-3 pages long. So if we're talking about something in the presentation which is in the book, then this is the chapter number. See that? 51. Just so that it's easier, if you want to reference it later. Okay? If you want one, I've got a few. All right. So here's some of the stuff that's already out there. Are these folks here? No? I thought for sure they would be here.
No.
So we don't have the entire industry, as it turns out. All right, that's cool. So you guys need to know these resources are available. I just searched around. I know very little about your industry here, okay? I'm learning. Just in the last 24 hours, I've learned a lot. But anyway, this stuff is out there. So here's a website, Morrison Grand Squares, and they have, look at this, they have this on their website, our marketing plan and materials. I'm going to read this if you can't read it in the back. We've had so many clubs calling us and asking how we get so many students showing up for our classes and what we're doing. I've decided to put all of that on this page so anyone with desire can have access to it. This is awesome. It's awesome. And here's the page. They've literally broken down everything they do to promote their clubs and their lessons. Okay? Literally step by step. So this is the type of stuff, it's already available, right? I didn't create this. This is by people in your industry, right? It's something worth checking out, right? Look at this one. Square Dance Resource Net. Are they here?
No, they're not here.
They'll be here.
We all know them.
This is brilliant, guys. It's awesome. Right? We all need to know it. I'm sure you already do. But there's cool stuff they've put up here. All the different calls and definitions and all sorts of stuff. Okay? So be aware of this sorts of stuff. Now, let's get into Facebook. Now, okay, let's just do another kind of come to Jesus here. How many of you basically refuse to use Facebook? All right. Okay, so it's a small number, thank God. I was worried I was going to like, I'm done. Let's go for dinner. So let's take a look at if you hate Facebook, I get it. Okay, I get it. To be totally honest with you, I think it's a little annoying too. But it's got a purpose. Okay? And the purpose is that you can stay in touch with folks. Okay? This is a little tangent, okay? I smoked for 20 years. I quit October 3rd, 2006. Okay? It's the biggest contradiction in my life. Because you guys don't have to seriously. That's not why it's cool. The point is that for 10 years prior to that, okay, I had this thought in my head: smoking is the biggest contradiction in my life. It's killing me. And that thought just got a little bit bigger, a little bigger. Over the course of 10 years, it increased, more prominent in my mind. And there was a threshold, and finally it crossed that threshold. And when I finally got to that threshold, it took 10 years, but when I got there, quitting was easy. Have any of you guys gone through something like this? It could be with dieting, right, or whatever. It could be anything. This notion grows in your mind for a long time, right? And then finally you cross the threshold. Well, there's a lot of people on Facebook who might want to come dancing one day, but they're scared, you guys. They're intimidated. They don't think, they can't hear the music, they can't hear the beat, they're worried they're going to make a fool of themselves. It's going to take time. It's not a sales pitch. This is going to happen in one day. It's going to be exposure over a period of time. And that threshold is going to grow in their mind. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And everyone's going to reach that threshold at a different period of time. Maybe some people are almost there right now. And other people, it might take 3 years for them to be like, you know what, I'm going to go give it a try. But we have to be conscious of that, and Facebook allows for that. Okay? It allows people to stay in front of people. So here's, these are just some pages on Facebook. This is a page about square dancing. You can't see this. 16,000 people like this topic. That's a nice starting number. I was happy to see that. Right? Here's another one. This is Chase the Chili. You guys, nice, I love it, right? So these are pages that exist, okay? I just rolling through a few, just so you know what's already out there. Look at this, newbie callers, are they here? No. People from this group? No. We've got 393 people in this group. Here's another one, Square Dancing Australia. Almost 600 folks in Australia. This is super impressive to me. Square Dance Callers, that's you guys. How many, are you guys members of this?
Yeah.
Some? Okay. If you're not, become members. Just like it. What happens when you like something? What happens when you like something is when they post something on this page, it's going to show up in your feed. So when you log on, you're going to see it. Okay. So you're going to see the updates. That's what I mean when I say stay in front of people. Is you're going to see these updates. Okay. And here's one more. Translate square dance calls for me. Right? Are you guys members of this? Now, this is just the ones that I found, and actually Barry sent me a bunch of these, but I'm grateful to him for, he really went out of his way to help me prepare for this. So seriously, kudos to him, he's awesome. Anyway, these are just a few that I found, but I'm sure there's others, and I'm sure we can build more. Okay, now, when I was on this last one, I was just looking at the feed just to see what had been posted. And just by coincidence, very recently, someone posted this. Dance is cheaper than therapy. Now, we need to talk about this. This is brilliant. Okay, there's a few reasons why this is brilliant. Number one, it's not just the text. It's an image of the text. See that? It's an image of the text. Now, we'll talk, it's a huge trend, okay? People are posting quotes onto images. They're not just sharing the words. You've probably seen this, okay? They're putting the words onto an image which relates, and not in this case, but I'll show you in 2 seconds, okay? They put the words onto an image that relates to the topic, and then they share the image that has the words on it. So it looks almost like a little poster, okay? And statistically, people pass that along, right? If you just put the words, no one passes it along. They just leave it alone. Okay? But if it's an image of the words, all of a sudden people share it. Okay? Just in all this stuff, don't ask why. It doesn't matter. It's just statistically that's what does. I study the guys. I'm a geek at this stuff. I'm always looking at the studies and the research, and people have studied all this stuff. And I have to say one more thing. You know, all of you going to be at the session tomorrow morning? Yeah. Okay, perfect. That's what I said. So for me, it was important to essentially take my content and divide it in two, because I don't want there to be overlap between today's session and tomorrow's session. I want there to be new things for you guys to get tomorrow morning. So I've done that. And so there's a number of things I'm going to show you. Just know that there's going to be more things tomorrow. And ideally, to be totally honest with you, ideally I would have preferred to do the shorter session first and then come back and do the longer session after. Intuitively, it makes kind of more sense for me that way. The scheduling didn't allow for that, which is fine. So we're going to go through some stuff, but tomorrow's session I think you might find even more, if you will, entertaining. This is a little more in-depth. It's a little more getting our hands dirty and figuring out what this stuff's all about. Tomorrow is more just about stories of what people have done and the results. And there's some great stories, okay? And you're going to get some ideas tomorrow. I promise you're going to get some ideas. But today we're going to dig in a little bit, okay? So, creating these images is brilliant. Now, the phrase itself, dance is better than therapy, that's genius too. Because number one, it's truer. Like, we all know how true that is. So I need to introduce you to Phyllis Cohen. Now, I asked her permission to do this. She used to be my neighbor. In a condo complex, she had the unit right below mine. Okay. Now, today she bought a house. She's about half a mile down the road. Anyway, she's 62, Jewish lady, just the sweetest lady you've ever met. Okay. But she's all alone. Okay. And truth be told, she's depressed and takes medication for it. Okay. So she's alone. She's lonely. There are hundreds of thousands of people around this country who are at home and they are lonely. There's probably 1 million or more. Okay? There's tons of them. And Phil, like I could tell you, there's so many stories. Like, she's trying to meet people. She would love to meet a man. She even dated a guy, and it was just, she's like a total liberal Democrat, and he's like a Tea Party Republican. And we all were like, right at the beginning, we're like, this is not going to work. But of course, but for her, right, a lot of people, we get into this mode where the older we get, we start thinking, we've got to be happy with what we can find. We lose that abundance mentality. We start thinking, okay, this person actually likes me. I've got to find a way to make it work, even if it's completely the wrong situation. Like, the only thing they agreed on was like the weather. Okay? Like, they didn't agree on anything. But anyway, the point is that she's really scrambling to try and find companionship in her life. You guys all know that she would be happy if she could come square dancing, right? And by the way, I've tried to get her to go salsa dancing, and I actually got her to go one time, but it's really hard in salsa. Salsa dancing is, for anyone who doesn't know, it is like a partner dancing, so and I'm the lead and the woman's the follower, and there's like a very specific footwork that you got to learn and how to do all that stuff. And she doesn't really hear the beat quite that well. It's hard for her. She struggles, right? Meanwhile, in square dancing, you can do it, right? She could do this. She could do this. So how do we get her to come square dancing? And that's I'm sorry?
Why don't you take her?
I mean, look, I got her to go salsa dancing, okay? But I've never been, I truthfully haven't been square dancing since high school. And I know you guys hate hearing that, that's true. So.
It's time to try it again.
All right. I love it. I got a bunch of alpha personalities here in front of me. I knew it, too. I was like, these guys all. And by the way, questions are welcome. Okay, you want to put your hand up? Go to town. We have to be wary at the time, and I'll try and keep it moving. But I really want to get your questions answered. So if something's in your brain, let's get it out. I know you're not shy. All right. Now, Phyllis is what I call a internet stalker. Okay. So stalking is not acceptable in regular life, but on the internet it's perfectly acceptable. And she's on Facebook all the time, and she sees everything, but she never comments and she never likes. There's a lot of people like this. Maybe some of you might fall into this category, where you see everything, but you don't actually comment, you don't actually do anything, okay? What if Phyllis were to see something like this? Square dance. It's cheaper than therapy. Phyllis goes to therapy every week. So this is a part of her life. And she might see a photo. I just took this photo off of Google, so I don't know if any of you were in it. I think it's a great photo. The point is that there's an opportunity to share content on Facebook. And this is the kind of stuff that people are going to see. Okay? And it's going to build that threshold slowly over time. And because you know what? They're going to see people that look a little bit like them. Those people look kind of like me, and they're having fun. They're not home alone. And this stuff is really basic, you know. So I looked online to see what kind of quotes there were on dancing. And there's literally websites that have quotes, and there's tons of quotes about dancing. You could make tons of these sorts of images if you wanted to. But I just kind of dug into it just to see what it would look like. And in fact, on the website called Pinterest, which, anyone not familiar with Pinterest? It's okay if you are. Okay, that's fine. You don't need to know it, okay? But it's a site where people share images, okay? And there's tons of people doing this already. Look at this. These are all images with dancing and quotes right on the image. This is awesome stuff, right? And there's none of it with square dancing. I couldn't find one with a square dancing image and a quote related to it. Okay? This is the type of stuff is to start getting these. This is just one example, right? We're going to go through a bunch of these. But creating images and sharing the fact that what you enjoy doing, right? What you're passionate about. This is your hobby. Right? There's visual ways to share that kind of content. There's different types of content, right? There's text, audio, photos, and video. What's the most viral of those four? Video. Okay, what's in second place? Photos. Turns out, people like interacting with visual content. Why? Who cares? They just do. They like it. So if you post text, it doesn't go anywhere. If you post an audio recording, it doesn't really go anywhere. But if you post an image, people share it. If you post a video, people share it. Statistically, that's what happens. So how can you communicate your passion? How can you communicate your hobby in a visual way? That's what we're trying to get at. Okay? And I do this stuff myself. On my own website, every time I speak in a different city, a big part of my business is speaking. I try to get to as many different places as I can because it builds my credibility, okay? But so every time I speak in a city, I build a page about that city and I put a picture of it. This is Bahrain, but I don't just do the picture, I brand it. I put my photo on it and my information on it, right? Because I know that the image is important, right? I do the same thing with San Francisco. And every city I go to, I always create these images. So everything we're talking about doing is stuff that I do myself. Okay, so the reason I included it. Okay. So this is just so you know, there's different websites where you can download images, you purchase images. The thing I really would love for you to do is to actually take pictures of your actual events and encourage other people to do the same thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But even if you didn't want to do that, there's tons of places where you can buy images for like 50 cents, $1. And these are just three of the better known ones. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of these. But this is, I looked on, see at the top here, it says dancing couple. There's all kinds of images that are available.
You know, something to point out too, I've used those and they're royalty free, which is really nice.
Yeah.
To keep reproducing and send them out.
You hear this? So now there's a distinction. If you're using it for commercial purposes, all of a sudden there's some stickiness. But most of the time, it's absolutely royalty free. So you can use this stuff over and over again. You can get it out there, right? And take the image and put a quote on it. You can share it. You can do whatever you like. Right? Does that make sense? Questions? Sir?
If we're using it to promote square dancing, isn't that commercial use?
No one's going to go after you on that. Besides, you know what, I shouldn't even have said that, because the truth is that most of them, the price you pay includes commercial rights. It came to my mind because I was stuck in a situation once where... Yeah, don't worry about it. If you use those ones that I mentioned, when you get the slide deck, you'll see those, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. But I had one with Getty Images where I got in a sticky situation. It was totally unintentional. I didn't even realize it. It's a picture of San Antonio, Texas. It's like, what's the big deal? But anyway, yeah, you're fine. And there was another question here somewhere as well. You're okay?
Yeah.
All right. Here's some videos that I found on YouTube. You guys have probably seen some of these. Square dance demonstration. Square dance flash mob Seattle. Has anyone watched this video?
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting video. I was surprised to see that. Now, all these videos, I've got some examples of a couple of videos that can be leveraged better than they currently are. But getting these videos out there, like every time you have an event, you could take a short little video of one of the dances. You guys are the callers. I mean, you guys are in the perfect position, I think. I mean, I don't know the specifics. I know you're busy, and I think you probably must have to think like in turbo mode to know. Because it's a different call, like every second and a half or something. It's unbelievable. I don't think I can do what you guys do. In salsa dancing, like someone just made the comparison last night. Actually, it was you, Tom, I think, wasn't it? Where effectively in that scenario, like I'm the caller for our two-person dance, because I got to decide, and it's like the matrix in my head, like, calculations, like it's hard. So to do it with 100 people in front of you, I don't know how you do it. But the point is that these videos can be leveraged. And look at what this is something that I found. These are awesome. There's a whole bunch of video square dance lessons. Lesson 1, lesson 2, all the way up to lesson whatever. Anyone here doing these? Is it yours?
No, but I have it on our website.
You can do tons of stuff with these videos, and these videos are nicely optimized. It says square dance lessons. That's what people are searching for. Remember at the beginning where I showed you those lists? People are searching for square dance lessons, square dance clubs. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Every one of you is in a different city, right? Now, if I pick a city, San Antonio, okay? If I live in San Antonio and I want to go square dancing, I'm going to go to Google, and am I just going to search square dancing? No, I'm going to search square dancing San Antonio, okay? All of your content should include location-based keywords. Because intuitively, it's different if I was searching for like a product name, like, you know, tires or something, okay? It's different. It's not location-based. But square dancing is location-based, right? So when you create a blog post or when you create any kind of content, a video on YouTube or something on Facebook, you want to get your location in there, right? San Antonio, square dancing in San Antonio. Does that make sense? Square dancing lessons in San Antonio, square dancing clubs in San Antonio. That stuff's going to rank. It's not very competitive. Like, it's not competitive at all. There's very little going on. So believe me, if you like, just as an example, is anyone here from San Antonio, just out of curiosity? No. All right. If I created a video and called it Square Dancing Lessons in San Antonio and put it on YouTube, let's say a week later someone went to Google and searched for square dance lessons in San Antonio, my YouTube video is going to show up, I promise you. Right? You can get on the first page of Google really quickly by putting this type of content on the web. Does that make sense? All right. Here's one of these videos that I saw. This was, Barry just sent this to me this morning. So I wanted to just look at it quickly. Now, I think this video is quite well done, actually. The production value is quite good. Some of you may have your own opinion. Have any of you seen this video? It's quite recent. Okay, a bunch of you have. So, and if the opinions on whether or not you like the video, that's fine. And you know much more about the specific topic than me. But I was looking at the video itself for production quality. I think it's quite nicely done. Okay, but look at how it's optimized or completely not optimized. Okay, here's the title. This is modern pattern dancing. Is anyone searching for pattern dancing? Yeah, you're right, and I'll prove it to you because I got the stats. I checked it this morning. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then in the video description, this is the description, so it would be below here, but I just wanted to show you. It says, to see the detailed description of modern pattern dancing, please visit our website. There's still no mention of square dancing anywhere, and there's hardly any description at all. Right? YouTube likes descriptions. Put words in there. Like all of your calls have words. Right? What's like do-si-do or chainsaw or something. Chain reaction. So whatever, guys. Listen, cut me some slack, all right? I'm doing the best I can. Yeah.
That was intentional.
This was intentional.
I know Chris created that. That was intentional.
Yes.
The intent was to not include
Not include the word square dancing.
He's trying to attract people
Rebranding.
by rebranding it so it isn't square dancing.
All right, so fair enough.
I know the guy too.
Okay, so that's brilliant. This actually makes it an even better example. So if he's trying to rebrand, then that implies he's trying to go from an old brand to a new brand. Yes?
Yes.
No one's searching for the new brand yet. They're searching for the old brand. So maybe you don't have to put square dancing in the title, but you darn well have got to put it in the description and the tags, because otherwise it's never going to show up. It's never going to show up. If you want to put a new name to it, that's cool. I get it. I get it. Like if the square dancing has like an old connotation or whatever, that's fine. I get it. But you gotta have a bridge. You gotta have a bridge from the old to the new. No one's searching for pattern dancing. Right? Now, as a comparison, because Barry's email this morning actually had two videos in it. This was, oh, see, look at this. Check this out. Here's square dancing, pattern dancing. Blue is square dancing, pattern dancing. You see this? Nobody's searching for pattern dancing.
Actually, in that video, about 4 minutes into it, it does put square dancing up on the screen.
Okay, this is brilliant. So what he said is that in your video, at the 4-minute mark, it puts square dancing up on the screen. And that's great for the visual viewer. Okay. But does YouTube know that square dancing is on the screen? No. Maybe one day they'll have the technology to know that, but that technology doesn't exist yet. Okay. So the point is that if someone goes to YouTube and searches for square dancing, that video has no way of appearing. There's no bridge. Right? Square dancing is not in the title, it's not in the description, and it's not in the tags. So there's no way to get it. YouTube doesn't know. YouTube doesn't know it's about square dancing. So I think it's brilliant that it references square dancing. And again, I just want to be totally clear. It's a good video. Like I'm not knocking it. I think whoever put this together did a nice job. I'm just saying it can be done better. These are little things, guys. The world is all. I really want to hear your comment. But the improvements we're talking about, we're not talking about making big things. We're talking about improving everything just a tiny bit. Right? They could have done a few more things. Like ideally, you could have like a 200 or 300 or 400 word description right here, right? Talking about square dancing and how it's changing to pattern dancing and how it now, is including young people in both heterosexual and homosexual communities or whatever. And there's different calls and C1 and C2 and whatever all these things mean, right? Because some people are searching for C1 challenge calls. Am I close?
Well, I think the intent, and I get everything you're saying, you get it.
Okay.
I think the intent they were trying to do with this was create this as it was without the square dancing and let it go viral by itself as a video.
Okay.
And see if it was going to go out viral that way. If I post that on mine and all my community who are non-square dancers pick it up and see it and spread it out that way, it creates a brand new thread that people aren't looking for on Google, but there's a new thread going out.
Okay.
That's a thought.
So let me, I want to, whoever this person was who created this video, I want to give them total credit. And I'm certain they had a strategy. And I'm not invalidating their strategy. Okay? All I'm doing is, I see it with my eyes, my fresh eyes. I don't know the history. I don't know the history that you guys have been at these conferences every year. And you've probably talked about online stuff, a bunch of times. And I don't know what they said before me. So there's a lot of these sorts of examples where I might be a little bit off base, but I still see opportunities to make incremental improvements. Right? The power of incremental improvements, right? They call it the aggregation of marginal gains, right? This is there's a study about this. It's a whole science of it. That, aggregating a 1% improvement in 20 different areas ends up having more than a 20% increase overall. Right? There's a synergistic effect that takes place because you're improving in so many different areas that the momentum starts. So maybe my ideas might just add to some of the other ideas that you already know or you've heard in the past. Okay. So in this email, there was a second video. So here's the second video. Okay. Dare to be square less. I'm sure this is the name of the conference, I'm assuming. Is this another video that many of you have already seen?
Yeah, this is a traditional square dance video.
Okay, it's a tradition. And again, I don't know the history, so, give me, stay with me, guys. But the bottom line is, in my opinion, we've got to step in the right direction. At least the word square is there. But I would like it to be square dancing. I'd love to have that keyword phrase in the title. Maybe it could be square dancing, dare to be square less 2013. Now you got both, right? Little things to improve it. But one thing they did do, which was very good, is the description. Look at this description. They put a whole thing in here. There's all kinds of keywords in here, including location-based keywords and all kinds of stuff. So that you're giving food to Google, okay? This is what Google feeds on. Google feeds on words. Right? They love, visual stuff is good for humans, like what I said a second ago. We like images, we like videos, but Google likes words. Right? So you put the words in the description and talk about all the different calls. Last night at dinner, they were telling me there's 180 calls. And that doesn't even include C1, C2, or whatever?
No.
Yeah. And they're 100 each, so we're up to 380. They each have a name. Right? There are people out there who are searching for those names of all these, chain reactions or whatever. Okay? It is that, right?
Chainsaw was better.
It would be awesome. And I got something coming up here real quick, which I'm really hoping. I gave myself the option to take a break and remove 2 slides that are coming up reasonably soon. Because I didn't know how this was going to go. So I'm like, are these friendly people? We
have chainsaws.
So, but you guys are being pretty cool. So I'm gonna do it, but I'm kind of taking a bit of a risk. But we'll get there in a second. The point is, if you're going to put a video up, put 200, 300, 400 words of description with all kinds of keywords in there, and it's going to come up for people who search for different stuff. Right? Just get it in there so people find it. And then, by the way, you can take that video and you can share it on Facebook. Right? You can share it on your personal profile, or you can share it on the page that you're a part of, if you have a page, okay? Or a group. Right? There's places where you can share it. Just get it out. Get content out. The more content, the more interaction, I promise. It just happens that way. Right? The more content there is, the more people are going to talk about it. All right. I want to show this example just quickly. When I first launched my book, it's not visual, but it gives you an idea of what we're talking about. I took my book and I summarized it into 300 marketing tips, and I released those tips as tweets on Twitter. By the way, there's over 100 million people on Twitter today. You think most of those people are just wasting time?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vast majority of these people are just wasting time. But there is an opportunity. There are a couple people who are seeing results on Twitter. And when I did this was quite effective for me launching my book. Okay? So if you can't read this in the back, I'll just read the first one. Conversations or markets, participation plus facilitation equals opportunity. More tips at, and a link to my website. Right, what am I doing? I'm trying to demonstrate my expertise in the middle of the high traffic website called Twitter. And if people don't care what I've written, that's okay. It's in Twitter, no one's mad about that. But if they are interested, they can click on it and learn more what's going on. Right? What tips could you write? You just think about it. What tips could you, I did 300 tips. I bet you could do 200 tips, 300 tips about square dancing and probably do it in a weekend and share it. And I'm not saying this is the only thing you do on Twitter. I'm not saying you even have to use Twitter, but you could, and it could be effective. And you share the tips with a link back to your website, right? And people see it, people come, people visit. This ended up being 30% of my traffic when I first launched my book, that was awesome for me. I mean, it was a big deal when I launched my book. I got a lot of traffic from Twitter because I was sharing these tweets. And if you wanted to do something like this, these are 3 platforms that you can use. Again, when you get the slides, you'll have these. Fire away.
Let's have you comment on your take on what the pool of people that comprise Twitter would be.
Great question, guys.
And
Would you repeat the question?
I will, I promise.
and their value toward growing square dancing.
All right, so the question is, get my comment on the quality of folks on Twitter and their potential value in spreading the word about square dancing. Okay. There's 140 million people or whatever on Twitter. Are there a lot of, idiots on Twitter? Absolutely. Right? Young people who could care less about anything except themselves? Absolutely. There's tons of those folks. But to say that they're all worthless with respect to spreading the word about square dancing is not a true statement. It's just not. Now, what that percentage is, I don't know. I mean, no study's ever been done to see what percentage of Twitter users are into square dancing, right? But I promise you, when you got 140 million people, there's good people in there too. And the beauty of Twitter is that people self-identify themselves. If you put like my tips, right? The people who don't care about the tips, they just let it go by. You don't even interact with it. But the people who do like it, they interact with it and they follow you. So they self-identify. That filtration process happens on its own, right? So if you put and this happens all over the internet. The beauty of the internet is that in order to segment the market, in order to find just your people, all you have to do is optimize your content because people are searching for stuff. Well, on iTunes, people were searching for mortgages. I had no idea, but they were. And so those people were the ones who found me. Only the ones who were searching for me found me, because my stuff was optimized for mortgage. Right? If you put stuff out there, whether it's Twitter or whether it's YouTube or whether it's just a blog, which is on Google, Google ranks all those things, right? Or Facebook, people are searching for stuff. So all you have to do is make sure that the words people are searching for are in your content and that the underlying content is good quality. Like it's a nice photo or it's a decent video. Now, let me just say that because some people immediately hear that and they think, oh gosh, to make a video that's expensive and it's hard to do. listen to this, seriously. If you look too good, they think you're a model. You have to look a little bit bad. Because otherwise it's not believable. Right? I'm not kidding. If you look too good, they think it's fake. Right? Go on YouTube. Right? There are companies that spend millions of dollars to make sure their video doesn't look that good. I mean, it sounds crazy, but there's truth to it. To make it sound, like it was just done, like it was just done by accident. There's, companies that spend a lot of money making videos look that way, right? The biggest thing you need to make a video nice on YouTube, there's just two things: good sound quality and good lighting. That's it.
Oh boy.
Good sound quality, those are the two things that people complain about on YouTube. Doesn't matter how good you look, it's good sound quality and good lighting. And the lighting you don't need to worry about, because the cameras, like the video camera on my phone, my smartphone, and most of the smartphones that you probably have as well, they're excellent. And they adjust for the lighting. Even in dark spaces, it adjusts and it makes the lighting fine. So why don't we take that one off the list entirely and just get decent sound quality? If you have decent sound quality, you're in good shape. Make sense?
Patrick, just to interrupt a little bit, for all those of you here, this session is being recorded. So if you have comments, questions, or whatever to Patrick, please come up and put it on mic. We'll have it on the recording. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a good point. If you have a question, use the mic, but if for some reason you don't get to it or whatever, I will repeat the question as well. So we're going to recover either way, and fire away.
So I just want to confirm your point with a personal example. I put up a web page which had nothing to do with square dancing, related to mortgages and the rule of 78. Now, I'm no expert on that, but I wrote a good page, and it's the third hit on Google, and there's some guy who called me up and says he wants to use it in his textbook. I'm no expert on this, but no one else knows that. So you put it out there, the people search for it, the stuff comes, the hit rate goes up. It's the best page on my website.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of, let me just, as a background, all this internet stuff, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just saying that it is. It just is that way. And there's an instinct, most of the audiences I speak to are self-employed professionals, so they tend to be 40s, 50s, and 60s, for the most part. And for many of these people have this notion in their head that says, with respect to the young people, people in their 20s and 30s, one day they're going to grow up and do it all the right way. That's not going to happen, guys. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to grow up, and they're going to run the world their way, and we're either going to adjust to it or we're not. And I'm not saying that you have to. You do not have to. But that's what happens. Generation after generation after generation, people recreate the world in their own image. Right? Those young folks, and there's pluses and minuses. They're not bad people. Right? There probably many of you have children in that age bracket, right? And that's cool. And there's some amazing stuff happening. The millennials, right? They are changing the world. The baby boomers, many of you are baby boomers. The baby boomers are very competitive. And very individualistic, very siloed, thinking about me, right? I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but across the generation, it's very much that way. And the children of the baby boomers, which are the millennials, are the opposite. They collaborate, they think in terms of we, not I, and it's really interesting. Anyway, that's a different topic, but the point is, they're going to do it their own way. And this internet thing, it does. Guys, it changed my life. I mean, it's my entire career was only possible because of the internet. In fact, the truth is that my career was basically kind of stagnant. It wasn't moving forward until the internet came along. And I started sharing content on the internet. First it was the blog, the podcast, then I had a blog, then I wrote a book which was first online, and then it became a book, and then I did another book, and then I had a video blog, and the whole thing happened because of the internet. So there is a way to help square dancing, or maybe you have a business, or some passion of yours outside of square dancing, or even a career, as is the case with me. You can build these things on the internet. It is possible, right? And I'm the case in point for that. All right. When I first did those tips, I just want to tell you really quickly, I did create content in batches. It's a lot easier. I literally wrote all my tips over the course of a weekend. So I encourage you, if you're going to do something like this, sit down, maybe with a couple of your friends from your local club, and have a break, bring in some pizzas, and think about stuff that you could do, and create a whole bunch of content, and then sandbag it, hold it back, and let it drip out once a week or whatever, over a period of time, right? This is how I do it. And I told you just a second ago that I have a video blog. I started a video blog last March, and I'll tell you, by the way, it doubled my income, and it was almost instant. Within 4 months, hang on one second, within 4 months, my income doubled, is what I do because of this video blog. It was astonishing. But you have a question? Yeah, awesome, thank you.
This is great. The question is, how do you get them to read the information? You got to get them to follow you. So I can post like crazy. How do I get the followers out there? That are not people that are my customers now.
Yeah, okay, this is perfect. So on Twitter, it's a little bit different than it is on other things like Google, right? On Twitter, the only people who are going to see your tweets are people who are following you. And it's actually not that hard to build up a following. Particularly a local following is easy to do, and the way to do it is basically to follow people who are either in your local area or people who are in the community that you like, that you interact with already. Many of them will follow you back, and the whole cycle kind of starts. That's not to say that you're going to end up with like 50,000 followers, okay? But you don't need 50,000 followers. If you put yourself out there and start interacting, like let's say, you can, one of the websites that I forget if the logo is there or not, but it's called Twello, which I know is silly, but it's, the yellow pages for Twitter, so they started with TW, so it's 12, whatever, right, I get it. But the bottom line is you can find people, you search San Antonio, it'll show you all the people who are in San Antonio on Twitter. You can search by the number of followers they have. You can search people who have square dancing in their profiles, or just dancing, or church, or anything. I mean, you can search for anything and find people, and you interact with them, you follow them, and many of them follow you back. It's another topic. I mean, a lot of it's in my book and other places as well. But I mean, is that enough to start with? I know what you're saying. But we could spend a whole day on that too. You know what I mean? Do you guys get it? I could keep you here for 4 days. Right? Just going through. There's so much of this stuff. But anyway, all right. So let's talk about where you can post these events. Okay? And this is a big one. This is the big one. Because I'm assuming many of you have dances maybe once a week or once a month. I don't know how the frequency you have, or maybe lessons that you have over a period of time. Okay. So where can you post this? People are searching for this kind of stuff. And this is important. They might not be searching for square dancing, but they might be searching for dancing. And square dancing will show up because you have dancing in there. Or maybe they're searching for dancing lessons, and you have square dancing lessons. Right? So getting the content up with those keywords is going to put that stuff in front of them. So many of you are familiar with Craigslist. Right? Are you guys familiar with Craigslist? Guys, you'd be astonished at just putting something on the Craigslist calendar. You can get a few people. I'm not saying you're going to get 50 people showing up, right? But you might get 3 or 4, right? What were we going to?
Just get one. Just get one.
Yeah, just get one, he says, right? Or just get a couple, right? And you do this, and you can set this up to have recurring, so that it just automatically goes in every week, right? And so your event is listed. And I've got a few of these. But here's another platform that's in the Bay Area and also in Los Angeles. It may not be where you are. That's fine. Every one of you, even small towns, there are places that post events. It might be your local Chamber of Commerce. It might be your local Rotary Club. There's all kinds of places that have online calendars, and they're looking for people to post events on them. It benefits them because if their calendar has more stuff on the calendar, then it becomes a more valuable resource for the people who visit their website. So all the incentives are pointing in the same direction, okay? They want you to post events on these websites, and there's actually even a website, it's called Full Calendar. And if you don't know this is one where I recommend writing it down. The downside is it only is relevant in a few communities, okay? Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, New York, Phoenix, Portland, Sacramento, San Diego, Bay Area, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. I know that immediately only applies to some of you. Okay? But you got to know what this thing does. It's awesome. You pay $20, $19.95, right there. See the price is right here, $19.95. You pay $20, and it will take your event details and put it on like 300 different online calendars. To me, it's the best deal in town. It'll put your event everywhere. And I once did, I used to do these kind of local workshops. I don't do those much anymore, but I did this local workshop in San Francisco and posted it, I just as an experiment, because I had a location where I could hold it for free. So I posted it on full calendar, and that was it. That's the only place I posted it, and 28 people showed up. I was really impressed with it. So this is, if any of you are in one of these metro areas, write it down. It's a good